Hi, I'm Chris Kinane with ARC Advisory Group. Today I'm joined by Ralph Rio, Vice President of Enterprise Software at ARC. Ralph, thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
We've been hearing a lot about blockchain in the industrial space lately. Can you tell me exactly what blockchain is?
Yeah. So Bitcoin has been around for around 10 years, and the underlying software platform underneath Bitcoin happens to be blockchain. Bitcoin certainly has proven that it's viable. Bitcoin is a viable currency, and there are plenty of other cyber currencies out there. So the blockchain technology, though, has started to find its applications in other places other than under the cyber currencies. So let me just mention in general what blockchain does. Number one, it identifies an asset. So in the industrial space, it may be a case of mangoes, for example. It identifies who owns it currently, and then allows for the transfer of that ownership from one person to another. So to make that immutable, trustable data, there is multiple layers of cryptology. There is also a shared database that's on multiple nodes. And there is governance to, if someone tries to edit one of those nodes and put fake information in there, there's governance to identify that and purge it. So, and I'm a little bit nervous about even talking about how blockchain works because far too many people, when they write about it or talk about it, oversimplify it. And as a result, some people say, well, I could take a database, add a little cryptology to it, and I could do that. You can't. It is multiple layers of cryptology, governance, and a distributed database so that once data is in it, it cannot be changed. And if somebody puts in fake information, that source is part of the permanent record and eventually will be exposed.
How is blockchain applied in the industrial space?
So in a nutshell, it's wherever there are independent entities, different businesses, that if they cooperate, have some coopetition, they can improve their performance mutually. So, it's one of my peers talks about it as frenemies. So usually it's a consortium. In the industrial space, it's almost always a consortium where you get invited in or you apply and you get approved to be part of the consortium. And by sharing data, you can improve your overall performance. And it's one of these deals where there really isn't a central authority. Sometimes there's a central authority that forces its suppliers to make a change, do an investment, and then afterward they reap the central authority reaps all the benefit. This is not blockchain in the industrial space. Everybody invests and everybody benefits.
Can you provide some examples?
Oh, yeah, there are plenty. ARC has examined 36 consortiums. Now, the consortiums are easy to get information about because they're recruiting members. So there's press releases, websites, and stuff like that. What I did is looked at the primary benefit that consortium was promoting to its membership. So the primary one, the most common application is international trade. And the result is business process automation among the consortium members. So in the case of international trade, there's a lot of documents. Traditionally, it's all fax, email, surface mail in some cases. So by using blockchain, they can automate that business process, improve the quality, reduce the labor, and make it much more agile. Another example is supply chain and food and beverage. In that case, it's really mostly fresh vegetables and fruits because you don't cook them. So if there's salmonella, some bacteria on it, that gets into the food chain and people get sick from it. It isn't like chicken, which commonly has salmonella, but you cook it and as a result, you don't get sick. So and the FDA has gotten good with electronic health records. There was a case last year where 100 people got sick, 70 went to a doctor's office, 30 went to a hospital, nobody died. But that was over a population of 100 million. So 100 people out of 100 million got sick, 1 out of a million. And using today's analytics, the FDA was able to identify a health risk and drive a purge. So that makes you feel better because you know your food is safer. But if you're in the food distribution business, it's got to set your little paranoia, because that means, a very small problem can cost you a heck of a lot of money. So to isolate the purge to just those mangoes or fresh vegetables or whatever that are a problem, people are using blockchain so they reduce the cost of a purge. And then there's pharmaceutical, there's ethical sourcing of materials is another example. So knowing where cobalt is coming from, a lot of cobalt is used in electric motors in cars. People like Ford and Volvo are willing to pay more for it. So by implementing blockchain, cobalt miners could get a higher price and higher margin. And then in the another good one is in sharing more operating data. This is in managing electrical grids, where you have a lot of distributed power generation, solar, windmills and stuff like that. And they've been able to share operating data to make sure you don't overload the grid.
So how broad will the adoption of industrial blockchain be?
Well, what I went through, and I want to really emphasize, this is frenemies. So a group of independent entities who, by sharing immutable data, trusted data, they can improve their operational performance. So that's not going to be broad-based, something like analytics, which is showing up in everything. There are specific applications, mostly in the supply chain, whether it be trade, food and beverage, pharmaceutical, and places like that, ethical sourcing. Most of it is in the supply chain where, by sharing data, people improve among frenemies. Sometimes they are competitors, and sometimes they need to cooperate. By sharing data, frenemies can improve their operating performance.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights on blockchain with us today.
Thank you.
My guest today was Ralph Frio, Vice President of Enterprise Software at ARC Advisory Group. Thank you for watching.